Hello and welcome to Astrology Breakdown with my psychic connection. I'm Squirrel, and tonight I am going to be doing the story of Sagittarius with our I can't even speak. Bleh! With our Mythology of Astrology series. I'm really excited, you guys. I can't believe we are already to Sagittarius, and then we have Capricorn, and then we've got all the origin stories of the constellations. Is that cool or what? So if you have missed yours, anywhere from Aquarius up to Sagittarius, and the last one will be Capricorn, go ahead and go to our YouTube channel and make sure that you check out your sun sign, the people you love, your cats, your friends, your family. It's all there, and we're about to be done. So let's dive into Sagittarius. And of course, I will start with a little bit of information about the constellation itself. Now, Sagittarius is one of the constellations of the zodiac, of course, and it is located in the southern celestial hemisphere. It is one of the 48 constellations listed by the second century astronomer Ptolemy in the Almagest, and it today remains as one of the 88 modern constellations. So it's really easy to find because it lies on the Milky Way, and its brightest stars form an asterism, which is like a really bright thing known as the teapot. It's right above the archer's arrow. Now, the word Sagittarius is Latin for archer, and that's very important. I want you to remember that. So, no, that said about the constellation, Sagittarius constellation actually has its roots in Sumerian mythology. The ancient Sumerians, the Babylonians, identified Sagittarius as Sag, a centaur-like creature firing an arrow from a bow. Now, it's generally depicted with wings and two heads, one of the heads being a panther head and the other head being a human head. And it also has a scorpion stinger raised above its heads and a more conventional horse's tail underneath of that. Sounds like a pretty wild creature, huh? So, the Sumerian name Pabil-Sag is composed of two elements. Pabil, meaning elder paternal kinsman, and Sag, meaning chief head. The name is often translated as the forefather or the chief ancestor. Now, this Sumerian figure was later adopted by the Greeks, but without the wings, without the two heads, had a human head, and without the scorpion stinger. Now, as a result, because of this adoption by the Greeks, no particular myths really are associated with this constellation, not Greek myths. And Greek mythologers were confused as to its identity, and they argued over it. So this argument of who Sagittarius is thousands of years old. But today I'm going to help you clear it up. And I will let you decide for yourselves because we do have that free will and we have to believe how we believe best. But other than Virgo, the Sagittarius myth is probably the most commonly misinterpreted of all the constellation myths. Now, I'm going to be telling you two myths today, and we'll start with the most well known about a creature named Chiron. And I know just about everybody knows who Chiron is because he's very popular in astrology today. But according to myth, Chiron was his father is the Titan Cronus. And Cronus had fallen in love with a nymph named Philyra. He thought she was so incredibly beautiful, but she didn't want nothing to do with him. She was like, nope, nope, no time for you. I got other things to do. Stay away, stay away. So he disguised himself as a horse and he had his way with her. Um, Not at all cool, but this is the the ancient Greek mythology. Those gods were always changing themselves into animals and having their way with people who weren't wanting them around. But that's what happened in the story. So Chiron was born a centaur. That means half man, half horse. And Chiron is one of the few centaurs depicted in pictures in Greek mythology or in ancient Greek times, the art, as a horse rear end with horse hoof feet in the back and human torso, human head, and human legs. Now, I don't know how to explain the physics of that, but they must have been really, really strong human legs to hold up all that horse body. So most centaurs were regarded in myth as bestial, like they were, after all, half beast. Now, the ancient Greeks had a great deal of respect for horses. They relied on horses for a great many things, and they were reluctant to make centaurs entirely bad, and Chiron's story was born. So now we know that Philyra was basically raped by Cronus, and when she gave birth to Chiron, she was so disgusted by him being half man, half horse. And she was so ashamed of what she had been through. And of course she was, but she was disgusted by the child and she abandoned him in the woods. She didn't want anything to do with that baby. Now, during Greek times, Roman times, all these times, way back then, if a child was born weak or born out of shame, a lot of times the child was left in the woods to see if the child could survive the night and then kept. But she really, really did not want anything to do with him, and she left him completely. And he was found by the god Apollo, who is the god of the sun. And Apollo took the baby Chiron under his wing, taught him the art of music, the lyre, archery, medicine, and prophecy, because Apollo was actually the original god of prophecy before he taught it to Mercury or Hermes in the Greek case. Now, Apollo's twin sister, Artemis, was just she just adored that little baby Chiron. He was just so cute, and he was friendly, and he was excited to be taught, and he was also excited to be kept. So she took him under her wing and taught him archery and hunting. So because of Apollo and Artemis, because Chiron was not raised by the savagery and the bestiality of regular centaurs, he became very peaceful. He was kind and he was very intelligent. Apollo and Artemis kind of spoiled him and made him more human. Let's put it that way. He became a great healer, an astrologer, a respected oracle, and he was said to be the first among centaurs, kind of like a king of centaurs, highly revered as a teacher and a tutor and a surgeon. Among his pupils that he taught were Asclepius, that's hard to say, Asclepius, Aristeus, Actaeon, Achilles, Jason from Jason and the Argonauts, Metis, and Hercules. So he did have a big, big influence on many of the heroes and gods of Greek mythology. The Greeks were fascinated with him. And stories about Chiron just abounded, how he helped Peleus, his bond with Hercules, his bond with Achilles. Just he was always in the background of the stories. So I'm not really going to go into any stories about how he lived. But I do know that you needed to know what a great healer what he was, what a great philosopher he was, what a great teacher he was. But the story of Sagittarius actually has to do with Chiron's death. Now, according to the Scholium on Theotricus, this has taken place during a visit of Hercules to the cave of Pholus during Hercules' fourth labor defeating the Erymanthian boar. Now, Chiron was with Hercules during this labor, and Philos, like Chiron, was a rare civilized centaur. I think those are the only two civilized centaur in all of Greek mythology. And when Hercules came to visit him, he was really excited to meet Hercules. And he'd heard so much about Chiron that he was very welcoming. And he was like, come in for supper, come in for supper. So Pholos ate his food raw. So Hercules was like, "Ooh, I need some wine to wash this down." And he really insisted that Pholos give him some wine. And the only wine that Pholos had was a vessel of sacred wine that was given to him by Dionysus, the god of wine and mischief, really. Um, it had been given to him by Dionysus to be kept in trust by the centaurs until the right time for its opening. And he was pretty strict when he gave Pholos the wine, saying, Don't ever open this." Now, Hercules begged and begged and begged, "Let me at least see the daggone bottle of wine." And Pholos was forced to produce the vessel of sacred wine. Now, Hercules Hercules was a hero, yes, but he could always do some dick moves. He wasn't always the brightest. Well, he grabbed the wine away from Pholos and forced the bottle open. Now, what they didn't know was out in the forest, there were wild centaurs just waiting to attack. They were led by Nessus, another centaur, just an evil, vicious. Oh, he was wicked bad. Now, they were gathered about a mile away from the cave that Pholos lived in. And when the vapors of that sacred wine wafted out into the air, it totally drove them nuts. And they went into a frenzy and they attacked the cave. They started running at it, pulling trees out of the ground, stones out of the ground, and throwing them and just knocking everything out of their way. So Hercules was forced to start using his bow and arrow, and he was just shooting away. And he was using the arrows that he had dipped in the blood of the Lermaean Hydra. Now, the Lermaean Hydra, if you haven't heard that story, that's the story of Cancer. That creature was defeated by Hercules as his second feat. But they couldn't just leave it hanging around. They had to cut it up and dispose of its body because it was incredibly poisonous. Like, if anybody had stumbled on that without knowing what it was and without precautions, it would have been an insta death. So Hercules just started shooting those arrows that the Linnaean Hydra's blood was on, and the centaurs just started falling left and right, until there were none left. And he looked over to tell Chiron, "We did it." And Chiron, oh, is groaning and leaning over and just in excruciating pain. And that's when Hercules realized Chiron had accidentally stepped in front of one of his arrows and he'd been shot. Whoa. Hercules was like, "Oh, oh, what am I going to do? What am I going to do?" And then Pholos comes out of the cage and he's looking around doesn't even see Chiron in pain. And he's like, "Wow, wow. How could all those little arrows kill a big centaur? This doesn't make sense." Pholos pulled an arrow out of one of the dead centaurs, and when he turned to talk to Hercules, he tripped and dropped the arrow, and the arrow went straight into his hoof, into Pholos's hoof. Instantly, Pholos was dead. He didn't even, not even a whole second, just dead. And Hercules and Chiron are like, "Oh, yeah." And Chiron looked up and said, "Was that poison on my arrow?" Hercules was like, "Yeah." Chiron was like, "I must not be dead because I'm immortal. Maybe there's something we can do about this. Maybe we can fix this." So Chiron, the master of healing arts, set out to cure this wound. He did everything he could think of. He even tried some pretty questionable ways of trying to get rid of the poison out of his body. He even cut the entire wedge of skin out of his thigh that was affected by the poison, but it was already in his blood. He was unable to heal the wound and doomed to an eternity of agony. Now we got to remember, Chiron's main purpose in life was a healer and a teacher. And all he could think of, I can't even heal myself. How am I supposed to be trusted to heal anybody else? I can't teach. I can't heal. I can't enjoy the arts because he was truly, truly in deep, deep pain. Pain like nobody should ever feel. And being immortal, he was doomed for eternity. So, yeah, according to Hesiod, Hercules was so distraught over wounding his friend and seeing Chiron in pain that he begged Chiron to help him make amends. This was truly an accident. And after all the time when Chiron finally fell into depression because it could not be healed, and he no longer was who he was, he talked Hercules into approaching Zeus and asking Zeus to forfeit Chiron's immortality, to give up Chiron's immortality in exchange for the freedom of a man named Prometheus. Now, Prometheus is best known for defying the Olympic gods by stealing the fire from them and giving it to humanity in the form of technology, knowledge, and civilization. So that's a story in and of itself, you guys. But Zeus, the king of the Olympian gods, was so angry at the time for being defied that he condemned Prometheus to eternal torment for his transgression. Now, Prometheus was bound, tied to a rock, chained to a rock, and Zeus's eagle Aquila was sent every day at dawn to eat his liver. Now, back in Greece, ancient Greece, the liver was thought to be the seat of human emotions. So it wasn't only a punishment of physical pain, but it was also meant to be a punishment of emotional pain. So every night, Prometheus's liver would grow back overnight, only to be eaten again. And oh God, what torture! Day after day after day. And Chiron thought, this is the man, the human that gave up his life, that sacrificed everything to bring everything to mankind. And Chiron truly, truly loved humans. Very, very weird for a centaur. But he thought, if I give up my immortality to save this man so that he can either live his life without pain or finally die in peace, Prometheus's choice, then I will have accomplished something in my undeath. So Hercules went to Zeus, and Zeus thought about it for a minute and he said, if it wasn't for Prometheus, I wouldn't have worshipers. I wouldn't have shrines. I mean, I have it pretty good for Prometheus. Um, I think I ought to let him go. Yeah, he suffered enough. So he did let Prometheus go. And instead of putting Chiron in his place, Zeus was so touched by Chiron's sacrifice that he placed his soul among the stars, where he became the constellation Centaurus, not Sagittarius. Chiron is the constellation Centaurus. Okay? I know all of you going, what? And Chiron is not Sagittarius, not in any way, shape, or form. Although there is a big argument that goes back thousands of years, but oh, that is one of my biggest reasons for thinking so. So another reason is Sagittarius is the archer, not the centaur. Now, a lot of astronomers and astrologers from ancient Greek and even nowadays doubted that this was a centaur at all. And among them was Aristophanes, who gave one of his reasons was the fact that most centaurs did not use bows and the fact that Chiron was more renowned as a healer, a scholar, and a prophet than an archer. Yes, Chiron did know archery, but that was not what he was most well known for. He knew it passing good. He was taught by Apollo, but centaurs did not have the physicality to be able to really be archers, and most of them didn't have the intelligence to be archers. So, while he was an archer, he was not renowned for being an archer. Instead, Aristophanes describes Sagittarius as a two-legged creature with the tail of a satyr. He said that this figure was Crotus, the son of Eupheme, the nurse to the Muses, who were the 9 daughters of Zeus. Now, the Roman mythographer Hyginus, in his Fabulae, added the information that the father of Crotus was Pan, who is one of the very few named satyrs. In fact, those two are the ones that are most well known, Pan being the most famous. Hyginus agreed with Aristophanes that the archer was a satyr rather than a centaur. Now, what's a satyr, you ask? Satyrs have human heads with human heads and torsos, and they have goat legs, and sometimes they have horns. Okay. Now, there's not much story involved with Crotus, but he was very, very well loved. Um, he was your average satyr. He was wild, lusty, and he threw really, really good parties. And hanging out with him was a really good time, but he he was different than the other satyrs. He wasn't savage. He wasn't bestial. He lived on Mount Helicon with his mother, Euphemes, the nursemaid to the Muses, and the Muses. And because of this, he shared a great love of art, music, and of course, partying. Now, Crotus, much like Chiron, was a skilled musician and hunter. He was renowned for being both an excellent hunter and a devoted adherent of the Muses and their arts. He is credited with having invented archery and the bow, which means he would have had to have lived since before Artemis's time, which is very possible with Greek mythology, and being the first one to use illumination for hunting animals. That's a pretty big deal. So he was also accredited for being a master horseman, and Zeus would often joke with him that Crotus was half man and half horse instead of half goat. So obviously, Crotus did not take offense. He loved horses, and he was a hell of a horseman. Now, he is also, I'm just going to let you know what Crotus is known for, even though there really aren't any stories that go to it. He is known to have introduced the form of applause. He would clap his hands when the muses sang, and they really, really loved that kind of reaction instead of the verbal yay or whoo or that was great. They loved the clapping of the hands and it spread. In fact, Crotus can translate into clap. So he was also said to have invented rhythmic beats used to accompany the same performances. Now, he was a satyr, and while he was pretty civilized for a satyr, he was also satyrs are known for their mischief. So he loved those muses, but he would torture the heck out of them sometimes. It was like being their little brother or their sibling, their brother. He would run after them, chase after them, to pull their hair, play practical jokes on him, but he was their biggest fan. He loved those muses, and he was also fiercely, fiercely protective of them. If anything, anything were to even potentially harm those muses, Crotus really nipped it in the bud really quick. However, he was not immortal. He was very, very mortal, which made him finite. And there are no stories to tell of his death. There is no record of how he died. I imagine quite a bit of Crotus's story was lost um, throughout time. Very little of the Greek mythology and the Greek writings still exist today, but it is assumed that he died of natural causes. And his death left those muses devastated. They were devastated. And they begged Zeus, please, please put our brother in the sky, in the heavens, so that we can always see him and he can watch over us. And Zeus really loved Crotus as well. So he did. He wanted to show off all of Crotus's skills as a hunter. He put the body of a horse to show the master horseman. He put the arrows to show Crotus's keenness and swiftness. And he also put the satyr's tail. That is not a horse's tail, it is a satyr's tail. As the muses loved Crotus as much as Dionysus, the god of partying, pretty much, loved his satyr retinue. That's another thing Crotus was really strange for. All the other satyrs followed Dionysus around and partied with him. Crotus stayed with the muses. And lastly, at Crotus's feet, there are stars forming a circle which represents a wreath, like the ones that could be thrown at play or the ones that could be thrown as a show of love. So it's kind of easy to see why the myths behind Centaurus and Sagittarius often get confused. Crotos and Chiron do share a lot in common. Both centaurs and satyrs are well known to be wild, rowdy, lustful creatures that had little respect for authority and less respect for proper manners. Both Crotus and Chiron were exceptions to their races, being gifted in the arts and sciences as well as being knowledgeable and polite to humans. Like most centaurs would kill a human on sight. And they also look a lot alike to a lot of people. They have the head and torso of a man, but the bottom half of a hoofed beast. Satyrs have two legs, while centaurs have four. Now, it has been pointed out by Aristophanes that centaurs like Chiron didn't use bows, so he can't be who is mentioned as Sagittarius. Even though I will admit Chiron could use a bow, it is not what he was renowned for. Instead, Aristophanes believed that Sagittarius is Crotos, who invented and used the bow. It was like an extension of him. So to sum up, I would like to read The Story Behind Your Sign, Sagittarius. This is written by Vida Renee, and it was published in Stargazing a while back. But I love the way she explains the difference between the 2. So I'm gonna read it to you because I do not want to ruin her beautiful words. She says, "Sagittarius is a sign that mirrors some of the qualities of its polarity Gemini. Both are signs of duality. While Gemini has twins, one mortal and one divine, Sagittarius also has this trait in that Satyr, representing the sign Crotus, is half human and half goat. Again, half mortal, half magical. Crotus was your average satyr, wild, lusty, threw those great parties, and probably put his elbows on the table while he was eating. He lived on Mount Helicon with the Muses and shared a great love of art, music, and the aforementioned partying. What he also did, though, was interact with humans, a very non satyresque trait. He was kind to all, and between this fact, as well as his half human, half animal appearance, he is frequently confused with Chiron, a centaur. Chiron does have his own story, but it is actually associated with the constellation of Centaurus rather than Sagittarius. Chiron is known as the wounded healer. Now, aside from his image being easily confused with the constellation, his qualities are of selflessness and rectitude. We can also see great sacrifice in Sagittarius's polarity Gemini. When Castor wanted to sacrifice his immortality to go to the underworld and be with his twin Pollux, Chiron healed all those around him and ultimately sacrificed his immortality by trading spots with Prometheus. Crotus, the true constellation of Sagittarius, again shared the dual qualities of being both mortal and divine, as well as the openness to be in the company of both muses and mortals, a rare trait in a satyr. In Sagittarius, we can see that not only is there freedom and individuality and a bit of partying, but also a great deal of morality. That's Bida Renee, and that summed it all up very beautifully. So I hope y'all were able to follow me on that one. Again, other than Virgo, that is the most complicated one because there are two different characters that people have been fighting over for centuries. But being that Chiron has his own constellation already, I'm going with Crotus. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Yeah, if there are any questions about the story of Sagittarius, go ahead and ask those in the chat. And if you have questions about Sagittarius in general, but hearing the story makes me understand that why you look at Sagittarius and you think entertainer, free, wild, because of the satyr, that satyr energy being, being the opportunity to, be free, be wild, and then that abandonment. And that's something else I know with Sagittarius. It's easy for them to feel abandoned.
Yes.
But
And that, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, but they have the ability to walk away from it without as much pain as they know
Oh,
that
yeah.
somebody will love them versus ne- feeling abandoned and feeling you're alone in the world. Sagittarius doesn't feel alone in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And with like Chiron, there were a
Mhm.
lot of Sagittarian zodiac traits in
Yeah.
Chiron, the intellect, the pursuit of knowledge, um, so much that could be confused with Sagittarius. But
Mhm.
unless it is a very damaged Sagittarius, I don't see Sagittarius as the wounded healer.
No.
That it just doesn't. It has to. And then if a Sagittarius is damaged, they generally come out very, very maudlin, not hopeful. Like Chiron really, really chased that heal, that cure until he couldn't anymore. He finally gave up after he exhausted all the resources. But the way that the wounded healer is presented is pretty maudlin. It's forgive me for saying pretty new age window dressing.
Right.
And Energy says, wonderful to have those misconceptions cleared up. Another great storytelling experience. Thank you, Squirrel. Thank you, Energy. Thank you.
Absolutely. And to hear, because I've heard that battle too, where people were talking about, is it a satyr? Is he, you know, something else? What is he? I've heard that before.
I think once that wounded healer thing came up, a lot of astrologers jumped on the bandwagon for, oh, that sounds so mystical. It sounds so deep. And there is a place for that kind of thing, but that would be more of a Piscean energy
Yeah,
that
I was
I
gonna
would
say,
see.
yeah, and the the goat energy on top of that too. When you were talking about the Gemini side of it, I also picked up on Capricorn as well.
Oh, oh, Capricorn. I can't wait to tell that story, but there is that there is a particular energy from Sagittarius that will carry over into that. That's all I gotta say, 'cause
And I knew it. I knew it. They're so close together. There have to be some connection there. But guys, January 2nd is when Capricorn's story will be told, and that will be the complete set of all the zodiacs told. And for all of you out there who are going, but there's a 13th. No, there's not. No, there's not. There is not a 13th zodiac. They
Ophalicus,
try it
I think
every
it's
5
called.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you
Every
say
5
duck
years, they try to
bill?
insert that.
Did you say duck-billed platypus? What?
Esophagus or ophocali I'd have to be looking at it to be able to
Yeah,
read
duck-billed
it.
platypus. That's who that's gonna be. The duck-billed platypus is the 13th
The
zodiac. Now,
duck-billed platypus. Ooh, hello. We could pretend that we're gonna make a new yeah, let's make a new sign journey just because,
that's what
we're
they
we're
do. They do that.
astrologers.
They try to bring a 13th one in. There's not. But
And then
Sagittarius, I know them to be free entertainers. A lot of your actors, singers, performers usually fall within the Sagittarius energy. They love to be on stage. They love to be out front, and they want to make you smile. They want to entertain you because it sounds like, oh, I want to impress, I want to impress, I want to impress. But it's not about them impressing you. It's about them making you happy, because making you happy makes them happy in that form. Now,
they
being your
do,
servant does
they
not make them happy, but
that's
being that
one
your
thing with
entertainer.
this oops, sorry.
No, it's okay.
That's one thing with the satyrs, the the actual centaurs, the natural centaurs, they were savage, absolutely savage. Like they would
Mm-hmm.
kill anything in sight, and they're very warlike. Chiron was an exception to the rule, and yes, his intelligence, his ability to teach is definitely in Sagittarius. It's in a lot of different signs, but the satyrs, while they were wild and lustful, they were more of the party, the tricksters, the fun, the players, the practical jokers, the ones who like to make each other laugh and other races laugh. They mostly hung out with the god Dionysus, who is the god of wine and partying. His Roman counterpart is Bacchanalius, and
Yeah.
they're all about sex and fun and partying. So the satyrs were the ones that really liked to play, and sometimes their playing was a bit harsh to other races. Sometimes I have heard some things or read some things where Krotos and Pan, Krotos's father, really tortured those poor muses in what they felt they were having fun. And energy says, interesting, the correlation of the goat represented by Sagittarius, then moving into the sea goat sign of Capricorn. You have no, I mean, you might have an idea, energy. You are an astrologer, but it's going to be interesting.
I can't wait. I can't wait. Just like we've every time we get on a sign, we're like, oh, I can't wait to tell that story. Oh, I can't wait to. Each one of these stories are absolutely amazing and gives you a better understanding of why some of the traits you find in people came from these characters and their stories. It's
Oh,
amazing.
yeah. And energy says, as a Sag, that song that represents me is "Don't Fence Me In." LOL. Yeah, they do not like a lot of Sagittarians unless they have some really strong romantic or not romantic, but, commitment ties in their chart. A lot of Sagittarians just run as fast as they can from any kind of commitment. And one thing
Mhm.
I was wanting to say a little bit earlier too was, I did say that Chiron's teaching and his philosophy and his ability to his intelligence, while it is present in Sagittarius, I think Crotus's intelligence is more prevalent in a Sagittarius because if you've ever seen a Sagittarius teach, they make phenomenal teachers, but they do use humor. They do use lightness. They do like to bring in people and make them a part of it. And that
Because
is more
learning is fun
akin
for
to
them.
Crotus. Yeah.
Learning is fun for them. And
Yeah.
when you were talking about they run from commitment, two signs that have to be in the chart that bring forth or bring back, or their partner being these two signs, Scorpio or Cancer.
Yes, yes. Scorpio or Cancer. Everybody else is like, I love everybody and you're next.
Exactly. But Scorpio and Cancer will bring that out in those Sagittarius where they would want to stay in that commitment.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
Scorpio and the Cancer energies play to that
Oh,
entertainer.
yeah.
And so,
And
yeah.
yeah, we're just both so excited. I'm sorry. I keep well, I was
that.
thinking like Sagittarius has a rap for being the most fun at a party and
Mhm.
always, like basic Sagittarius, just pure Sagittarius energy has no filter. It thinks it speaks, and a lot of times it thinks it speaks because it's funny, and energy
Right.
says, "LOL, I'm married to a Cancer."
Shocker. Show shocked.
Yeah, she probably never had any intention of getting married until that man found her. But Sagittarius has no filter, and what it thinks is funny, it comes out of its mouth. But a lot of times, like, pure Sagittarius energy is really hysterical, but we do have other factors in our chart. One of the Sagittarius I love more than anything in the world, and more than any other Sagittarius I've ever met. She has a lot of Capricorn energy, and it brings her down to earth, so she thinks a lot about what she says. She has she you wouldn't peg her as a Sagittarius right off the bat until you got to know her and she let you see that playful side. And she really truly is one of my favorite people in the world. And she
The
knows who
thing
she
about
is.
it is that I'm not a Sagittarius sun, but I have a Sagittarius rising.
Mhm.
And so
Which
I'm a
is
Cancer with
important.
Sagittarius rising.
Oh god. So I would guess that you had your play days, that growing up, coming
Oh,
up, you
oh
were a
yeah.
player and you had that little bit of "I love everyone and you're next" until you got to a point where you're like, "I need a family. I need" but I don't think that you would have ever settled for anybody who was a stick in the mud. It has to be somebody that lights you up and laughs with you, and energy says, "So true," in the heart.
But with that, it shows my entertainer days as well. I was, very active. I did commercials. I did, radio. I still do radio to this day. Of course, we're on it now. Um, we're doing this out here. I mean, some of the things we're talking about when it comes to entertainment, I've got that. But when it came to the love side of things, you're right. I didn't want love with one particular person. I only, now this is going to sound weird, I was very picky. And if I wanted it, I got it. There
Oh,
was something
yeah. That
about talking about people who in a million years said to me, "You are not my type. I don't understand the type of power you have over me." I was like, "I've done nothing different. I'm being me." But they couldn't understand why they fell so deeply in love with me. In the matter of 24 hours, I've had that happen. And I did not, I felt that if I felt the need to run at that point, but I didn't let them know because the cancer side of me could not just run away from the situation without giving explanation.
Well, you've got that Sagittarius ascendant, right? And that is
Yes.
how the world perceives you and how you perceive the world. It's those rose-colored glasses or brown
Mm-hmm.
tinted glasses or whatever. It's how we see the world and
Goggles.
how we let the world perceive us. And not let, but how the world perceives us. So Sagittarius energy is huge and it's exciting and it's intelligent and it's innovative. So they're seeing that and they're also seeing, in the background that Cancer sun being beautiful and loving and
Mm-hmm.
and nurturing and they're like this is everything. Energy says same here. I worked as a radio announcer for 5 years and was a dancer in my teens. Yeah, yeah,
She's
that's
still a
awesome.
dancer in her dreams, though. But
And it's a huge energy that people are drawn to. It's the spark that the moth is drawn to.
yeah. Well, I
Full
had a lot
energy.
of people had mentioned that to me. They just didn't understand because I wasn't the typical person they would want. In the simple fact of that was men and women. It wasn't just one particular sex. Men who were straight, who loved women and had, that was they never had ever even crossed their mind to go in that direction. Would say these things. So a Sagittarius has a strong pull. They draw you in. That's
Oh,
why
yeah.
they're such great entertainers because they can draw you in.
Oh, yeah.
They can draw you in.
Energy says Sag energy is all go or all stop, LOL. Yeah, because throwing out that much energy all the time, you can peter out. You can
You would
collapse.
definitely
And
burn out.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I think that's the biggest danger for a Sag is well, there's 2 dangers for a Sag, and every Sag, please forgive me on the second one, but the first one is burning out because that is mutable fire. It's all over the place and it's strong. Um, find ways to force yourself to step back so you don't have to shine as brightly. You don't always have to be on high wattage. And then the second um, danger for a Sagittarius, and I do not find this from energy. And I've known her for a very long time. So I think her Capricorn energy like tones that down. But Sag energy sometimes, and I don't find it from you either. Sag energy will sometimes believe so strongly that it is the smartest creature in the room that it
Hmm.
will put down everybody without that filter, and they will try to make everybody else feel stupid, and that pisses a lot of people off. So, Sag can
Well,
piss you off as well as draw you in, but any sign has its strengths and its weaknesses.
Sagittarius are also known for their, and I believe this comes from the wild side, the party phase, is amazing sexual partners.
Yes. Yeah. Oh man, those satyrs and Dionysus
Mhm.
and Even the muses, they were like all about sex. And energy says that mutable fire. Because one of the ways the satyrs were, she says, yeah, I require a lot of solitude to rejuvenate. Absolutely. One of the ways that satyrs are, what is the daggone word? Explained or told is they're very lustful and they're very randy, which means that they're always horny. They're always horny.
Yes.
But that's
Yeah.
satyrs, not necessarily Sagittarius.
Well, here's something that I know specifically that I've seen in my years of being a reader, being a part of astrology, and knowing the zodiac the way that I do, is that all Sagittarius, the only sign I've seen it with that takes it. Now this varies from every Sagittarius, but they take 1 month of solitude. They cut their friends out, their family out. They stay within themselves, and if they're with their partners, they are only they're only communicating with them to give them basic communication. They're not opening up, they're not talking, they're not spending any time with them. They're really closed off. They're either in a book, they're doing something relaxing, but they will do it for an entire 4 weeks. And it doesn't matter what month, it happens once a year for 4 weeks. They pick a specific time frame and they do it, and it's consecutive. It's one week after the next. It's not, oh, 1 week here, 3 months later, another week there. Like other signs will take a break and they'll do it for a week or just a couple days. A Sagittarius will do it for an entire month. They need, it's like they go into their brain goes into a deep sleep for 4 weeks.
I
And
have seen that happen. No
energy commenting on the sex part. She's like, no comment. With the no comment means there is some substance to what we just said.
She's like, "Don't tell everybody my secrets." But
Never
I've
was gonna.
seen Sagittarius do that for a week, shut down, and they do not communicate, and Sagittarius are usually great communicators. They'll tell you everything, but they do not communicate what they're doing when they shut down, and if they don't shut down, that is one of the most brutal, like, the savage comes out. The
Yeah.
savage will come out. You will say something, they'll take it another way, and they will attack you, right, downright attack you with their words, if not their bodies. It is very imperative for Sagittarius to take a break. If they can't get a consecutive month to it, step back, rekindle, right?
But they will
And so
also,
they don't. Go ahead.
but that other thing is like with exactly what you just said is they will attack you, but they will also attack you to get what they want, which to keep you at bay so they can have their time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's why they need to communicate what they're doing. So Leos like me won't say, "What you doing? You don't like me anymore. What's going on?"
Hello, is this mic on?
Energy says, "Yep, like a volcano erupting." Yeah, yeah.
It's when you least expect it. And when a Sagittarius tells you they need their moment, give it to them. Because the things that'll come out of their mouth in the moment of time, when you did not respect that time, you would have wished you just not have spoken at all.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, and they will eviscerate you with their words. Like
Their words are like
Sagittarius.
daggers.
S I think Scorpio likes to think of themselves as the most sarcastic and the most cutting, but piss a Sagittarius off. And then with a Sagittarius, half the time you're like, "What was that word? I gotta go, oh, they said that?" I have to look it up.
Energy's been there, done that. She's got the t-shirt. She probably makes the t-shirts. But the thing about it is too is that with the Sagittarius, the things that other people, let's say, because Sagittarius loves to see the beauty and everything. Something that other signs may see as ugly, a Sagittarius will embrace it and see it as beautiful. But the minute you piss them off, they know your insecurities. They're going to go straight to it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. On a good note, though,
Yeah.
Sagittarius loves to learn, loves to explore. Like, Sagittarius energy is what has gotten us. Sagittarius is astrology to me. It
Yeah.
is looking outward at the world around us and the universe around us and wanting to know more. So without Sagittarius energy, we would have no mythology. We would have no stories of why things are the way we are. We would have no travel to other planets, to the moon, no space program. They're the ones who look outward and say, "I want to know more."
Absolutely.
Ah,
They want to know more. They want to see more. They're also, and I was going to say this too, is that when it came to the sexual playground, they were the most adventurous.
oh, yep, yep, yep. Adventure and Sagittarius are synonymous. You know what I think of when I think of Sagittarius? And energy says, "How does Sag play out for you, squirrel?" Do you mean what's in my chart? Because I I'm not sure I follow. As far as my chart, I don't have any major planets. I don't have any placement of a planet in Sagittarius. However, and this is really bad, and I shouldn't be giving this secret away. Walking question marks. Sagittarius does rule my second house, which is a really the second house is all about money, what we value, things that are tangible. And Sagittarius is mutable fire, so I burn through that shit. So we just like don't even yeah, we shouldn't go there.
Is that
That is a
no,
really bad placement for Sagittarius.
that, but it also plays with your fire as Leo, because
Oh
you are a
yeah.
Leo. So your
Oh
Leo
yeah.
helps control that second house a little bit for you, helps you out.
Yeah, that Leo likes to have fun too. That's the problem. You got Leo sun and Libra ascendant likes beautiful things, and then you have Sagittarius mutable fire in your house of
But
money. It's like,
but like your show, you are serious when it's needed, but the
yes.
joking to give your that lightened energy and still have fun with it, that the whole world doesn't have to be serious all the time. It only has to be serious as when it needs to be. For the rest of that time, not to stress yourself.
I think a lot of people might think I have some Sagittarius in my, strong
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius placement in my chart because I do like to have fun. I do love to laugh. I don't always have a proper filter. Um,
I knew you were for sure when I met you, only because I can read that, but I can see where people would see that playfulness, that fun, that willing to learn and to just do whatever. And you're up for anything.
oh yeah,
Oh, that's a new
yeah,
adventure, new rabbit hole, and you're just going down the rabbit hole with it.
oh yeah.
We've done that.
I don't know any strangers, just people I haven't met yet. That's it.
Right. Right.
Oh wow. Chris Ramos is for Sag, Moon for Aquarius Sun, and Aries rising.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Sagittarius Moon, Aquarius Sun, and Aries rising. Ooh, ooh, that's a fun
Feel the fire.
and intelligent conversation.
Exactly. It's amazing
Dang.
energy. And energy says fun is also Leo. Yes, they are. They are fun, but their energies are look at me, pet me, but I'm gonna do everything else for you.
Now, Leo energy is also really concerned with what other people think of them. I can't do
Yep.
anything wrong. I can't do this wrong because people will laugh at me or people will think poorly of me. Sagittarius energy, pure Sagittarius energy is like, I don't care what other people think of me. I'm going to do what I want. And
Exactly. I was
when
going
I
to say,
think
I
of
don't know.
healthy Sagittarius, I think of Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. That to
Yeah.
me is Sagittarius in a nutshell.
All
And
right.
holy crows, look at the time.
I was just about to say, that's why I said, all right. Well, guys, that is the end of this episode of the mythology of astrology of Sagittarius. Guys, we've got one more to go on January 2nd. We will be telling the story of Capricorn, guys. Just one more, and then we have the complete set, and we will have it remastered for you guys to be able to watch all of them in a row or pick and choose which ones you'd like. They're all great. I would suggest sitting down and binge watching. All right,
And
Squirrel. This has been so much fun.
it has. I thank you for allowing me to do my little passion project with
Oh,
with my psychic connection because I have been enjoying the heck out of it. Thank you. And Chris says, have a great night, y'all. Thank you, Chris, and thank you,
thank you,
everybody,
Chris.
for being here. So,
Guys, and don't forget to check out tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. We're here with Bunny. She's going to be going down the rabbit hole with amazing tarot readings. So, guys, make sure you're checking her out 6 p.m. Eastern. At 10 p.m. Eastern, we've got the beautiful Skwirl. She's going to be giving you guys some great readings. So, guys, make sure you're checking her out tomorrow night. Guys, that's all we have for you tonight. We do appreciate you. We will see you guys all again tomorrow, starting at 6 p.m. with Down the Rabbit Hole with Bunny Sugars. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.